Hello, welcome to the 54th episode of Rachel Pilcher Writing Workshops. Writing advice for those of you who just need a few moments to kind of gather yourself to figure out what you need to know so that you can get your work done. My name is Rachel Pilcher. Today's topic is the highs and lows of productivity. But first, I have to make a quick announcement. We are quickly filling up on my Write Fearlessly class with Writing Workshops Fort Worth. It is on Saturday, February the 8th, so just a month away, from 1 to 4 p.m. It's going to be right here in Fort Worth, Texas. So for more information, make sure that you log on to the Rachel Pilcher Writing Workshops page. You click on Rachel in person and follow the link to Writing Workshops Fort Worth. So, topic today. Writing takes a long time. For those of you who thought you could just sit down, write a novel, be done with it in a year, and get it published within that year, that's not how it works. But if you're working on a novel, a screenplay, or perfecting short stories or poems, it takes more time to make it look like the words are reading very effortlessly. So it's going to look like, you just had this amazing epiphany of writing. But really you probably spent an entire year just on the first draft getting it perfect. So it takes a while. And within that, your moods are going to change within the entire process of writing that work. So, you're going to have your highs, you're going to have your lows. And it makes writing seem super easy whenever you're on those highs. You can sit down and you can knock out, 5,000, maybe even 10,000 words in a day, which is amazing if you can do that, if you have the time to be able to sit down and do that, and you have the energy and the motivation and the flow is just going. But you're going to have those days where it's a struggle to write 1,000 words. So here's a few things you can do to kind of beat those lows and take advantage of the fact of having those highs and still stay motivated while you are writing. So the first, write as much as you can during those highs. I mean, that seems like it is, just the thing that you would do. So definitely take advantage of the fact that you have those highs. Whenever you have a story that's flowing in your head, sit down, get it done, get it written. And you may have to make adjustments in your schedule to do that, but you got to take advantage whenever the iron's hot, right? So do that. When you feel that you're slipping into a low, though, one thing that you need to do is to find the best piece of writing that you have done and read over that. For some people, you're probably going, well, that might be a little depressing because I can't write that. But I want you to think about it, and it could be, a chapter, a page, or a paragraph of what you've written. And then I want you to read over that to yourself and think about what you were doing whenever you wrote that piece. How were you feeling? What was your mood? So it's kind of diving deeper into your own personality. This is kind of like what readers do whenever they try to figure out, well, what was the author thinking? So look back and figure out, well, what was I thinking when I was writing this? How was I feeling? What was I doing? And then the next thing you should do is remind yourself at that point, yes, I was the writer of this work. I wrote this whenever I had, massive inspiration, and I was able to get through all of the things that you have to get through as a writer to go from beginning to done. And then also remind yourself that if I can do this one thing well, that I can do this next thing well. It may not be right now, but I can do it. It happens. And don't let that get you down, because if you're already in a low, it doesn't help to think and beat yourself up and say, well, I'll never be able to do that again. It's about changing your mindset and how you decide to talk to yourself when you're looking at something you've done well and you're in a funk, and then how you talk to yourself whenever you're doing something well. So just take a moment and do that. Remind yourself, I wrote this, I can do this again. It's entirely possible. So the fourth thing that you probably need to do is to also take a break from writing. If you are in a funk and it is keeping you from being able to write, stop, take a break. Get up, walk around for a little bit, sit down, read a good book. And don't read a craft book, because craft book can sometimes put you in that mindset of, oh, I'll never be able to do all this if you're already in a funk. But relax and don't think about your work, except for maybe possibly in the context of how can you make it as good as what you are reading now? Like, and again, I'm telling you, it's changing your mindset. It's not, reading Tolstoy and going, oh, I'll never be as good as Tolstoy. It's reading Tolstoy and going, now what elements does Tolstoy use in this that makes him great? And how can I put something like that in my novel that I'm writing that may not be, Russian literature, but classic Russian literature, but it can have that element that you want to be a great piece of work. And that's how you need to start reading things, just in general, is what did they do that I can put that type of element into my work? And it's still my work, but it's doing something that someone great has done. And that's digging deep right there. And then the final thing that I suggest you do when you're in one of those lows, and it's not the final thing I do, it's usually one of the first things I do, but I journal a lot, and I am a big proponent of people journaling out things that are blocking them when they're writing. Just writing about the frustrations and getting it all out of my head. And part of doing that helps you, because sometimes you can talk your way into a funk, but you can also talk your way or write your way out of a funk. And whenever you can get to the meat of that problem and figure out, what is causing this and why is this happening, or at least, address the fact that it is happening, it makes it significantly easier to move on and actually be able to then write. So those are just a few of the things that I personally do whenever I'm trying to get out of a funk of writing. And sometimes they work, and sometimes it's like there's one thing, and it could take, a week. I'm being honest here. It's not going to be 100% instantaneous, but it will happen. And you are a writer. Just remind yourself, you are a writer. You wrote that piece that you were doing great on one of your highs. So when you're in your lows, remind yourself of how great you can be and strive to be that. Just remember, writing is hard. If it were easy, everyone would be doing it. Everyone would be doing it. It's like being an astronaut. If it were easy, everyone would be astronauts. And, we'd all have New York Times bestsellers. It's not easy. You're doing this because you have a passion for a story to be told. And it will be work, but in the long run, it will be worth it. And, you can always use those feelings whenever you're in your lows to strengthen your characters and make them vulnerable and make them people that can be relatable, because everybody knows what a low feels like. So thank you for joining me today. I hope you found this information useful. If there's anything that you have any questions about, definitely feel free to put them in the comment section. I look at my comment section and I try to make responses to them whenever I see that there is an actual question, or if you're saying something nice, I try to say thank you. Make sure that you like this video, and since you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to this video, subscribe to this channel. It's free, and you'll get the most up-to-date information that comes out of Rachel Pilcher Writing Workshops. Thanks again. Have a good day.